I was asked to do a screencast on chapter 12, number 13. Let's think about that. And we've got these various actions, that some of which have some market failures associated with them that result in too much of the good being produced or done, the thing being done or the action being taken, and some of the market failures result in too little being done. Let's see if we can take a stab at this. Oops, I just switched. So we're asked to make a table like the one in figure 12.13, and that's one where we list the action in the first column and then identify the externality if there is one. Maybe they're all externalities. The table lists both private and external costs and benefits. Then they talk about what's the market failure, possible remedies, and then what are the terms that we use. And the first one is the vaccine. And this is a positive effect to others, reduces the likelihood that other people get sick. When you vaccinate your child, the child is less likely to get sick, but there's this herd immunity that the more people that are vaccinated, the less anybody, even the unvaccinated people, get sick. Cost or benefit. So there's a private benefit, switched around, private benefit, and then there's a external benefit. The market failure is too little resources directed toward vaccines because people's private benefits don't include all the social benefits that people are less likely to get their children vaccinated than they ought to be. And then possible remedies, we know that saying the kid can't go to school unless they have a vaccination is one way to encourage that or require that. Subsidize. The Affordable Care Act requires insurance providers to provide vaccines for free. Of course, they're captured. The cost of doing so is paid in healthcare premiums, but we get this reduced chance of getting sick, and we call this a market fails because there's a positive externality. I may not have time or space to go through all these, but I'll go through some of them. The risking borrowed money. You borrow money from the bank, and you, instead of doing what the bank lent it to you for, to buy a car or whatever, you're taking the money and putting it on a roulette, putting it all on red or black or whatever, risking bank loan. And how it affects others, I guess the problem here, the way it affects others, is that the bank cannot fully control your actions of what you do with the money. So you are somewhat protected by bankruptcy laws from the full consequences of losing that money. The bank and its shareholders are then on the hook for bailing or for either losing the money or, well, I guess losing the money. So it costs others. Cost or benefit. Well, I suppose there's a private benefit in that the private party can win if the risky bet pays off. But there's also, you lose something if the risk, the investment doesn't pan out. You also lose something. But there's also this external cost, presumably. Market failure, banks are pretty good at getting their hooks in you. I guess there's too much risky behavior. You think of the speculation on mortgage-backed securities that was happening before the Great Recession. There was no question, but there was too much risky investment going on because the people making the investments were shielded from the full costs of or the full risks. Possible remedies. This is a ultimately the bank is covered for if the bank's becomes unable to pay its depositors. There is federal deposit insurance. In return, the feds will restrict the kinds of lending a bank does. Bank regulation requires certain types of collateral for certain types of loans, prohibits certain types of loans. Maybe that could do it. Well, if you wanted to take the people to take the full consequences for the risk of their assets, you could reform bankruptcy laws so they weren't bailed out. Individuals doing that weren't bailed out. That can be pretty dicey. People become reluctant to borrow money to undertake projects that could be really beneficial. There's other personal bankruptcies that say because of medical expenses that we wouldn't want to disallow. So there's pros and cons to any possible action we could take, and the problem here is moral hazard when the party, say in this case issuing the loan, sometimes it's an insurance company insuring somebody against loss, when they can't fully specify the allowed actions, the party who's got the resources but is shielded from the full risks of their behavior, they're then more likely to undertake risky behavior. So moral hazard is the market failure. Fishing fleet moves from the overfished coastal waters. This is a tragedy of the commons, actually. The fishing fleet in international waters. It costs others when you catch those fish in international waters. They're not there for other people. Private benefit, social cost. Oftentimes these fisheries, since if you catch the fish yourself, that's great. Somebody else is going to catch them if you don't. There's insufficient care taken that the catch be limited to the amount that a fish stock can endure without losing breeding stock and its ability to sustain itself over time. So the market failure is a tragedy of the commons. We call that commons good problem. Sometimes you hear that called an open access resource problem. Sometimes you actually hear it called a common pool resource. All those things mean the same thing. Possible remedies, international treaties to limit catch. And they have done that for salmon, for whales, of course. Tuna stocks are collapsing all over the world. Presumably there's going to be a tuna treaty sometime soon before we lose those very important food fish. And again, market failure, commons good. I missed an M there, sorry. I'll keep going. Oops. Oh, that was the right picture. No, it wasn't. Sorry. Where's my... Where is that table? I have it in my resources somewhere. There they are. Oops. All right. Sorry about that. City Airport, night flights. Oops. So this is noise. It's a cost. Cost or benefit. Private benefit, the airlines get money, but external cost. The people living around the airport are woken up in the night now with the noise. There's a negative externality. And possible remedies, ban night flights, tax on noise, there's all sorts of ways to do that. Negative externality is the dictionary breath way to describe that. Wikipedia is an interesting one. Wikipedia entry. Here, it's a benefit to others, and there's, it's interesting. There's just a social benefit here, and people are doing this, as far as I could tell, just out of the goodness of their heart. Maybe there's some private benefit in, getting a citation or something. The market failure is this. This is a public good. It's non-excludable, non-rivalrous. If I go look something up, that doesn't preclude you from going and looking up. A public good is like an extreme positive externality. All the benefits are captured by other people. Possible remedies, subsidize Wikipedia. I don't know. What could you do? You could not subject Wikipedia to taxes. Maybe give. It's beyond the subsidy. It's hard to think of what you do. So public good would be the right answer. If you answered this as a positive externality, I would give full credit. There's a blurry line between public good and positive externality issues. And this next one, government fusion research. Again, this is just government promotion of basic science. There's just a social benefit. Public good. Public good failure. The market failure is there's insufficient resources. I guess I'm mixing up my last column with this one. The public goods issue. And then in this case, the government's doing it. So, that is there isn't a remedy. This is a this is a real positive. Increase appropriations. Senators could give the government more money to finance such research. And again, this is public good.